Hello and welcome! My name's Heather, I'm a Registered Professional Counselor, and today I'm going to be watching Netflix series Love is Blind Season 2. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe for more analysis videos like this.
I didn't want to say anything that I would
Okay, so I guess
later.
Sal didn't leave.
Jarrette is kind of what I've dated previously. That's where there was then like some type of connection because there was some familiarity with that.
Okay.
But I know how much like Sal cares about me and how much I care about him.
So it seems like they are moving forward and that they've already talked about it before and they're just kind of rehashing the details right now.
To our engagement and whatever new challenges we're going to face, Mal. I'm here for it, okay?
Same.
They're reassuring each other that they're committed in the relationship. That's good to see, and I guess we'll just see how Mallory and Jarrette react to each other the next time they're in a group setting. Oh my gosh! Oh wow, I hope he's okay.
When I get in a new relationship, like it's almost immediately, I just immediately cut off certain relationships. Are you still friends with your exes?
I'm not a big fan of burning bridges because you never know.
Why do you call it burning bridges though? I just call it
never,
boundaries.
You never know who you're going to need down the line. So
You
say
don't
this
need an
person.
ex.
So it's clear that they have different expectations around how to deal with their exes. She wasn't entirely explicit with Jarrette around how she wants him to act around Mallory. Clearly it's something that bothers her, but she's trying to communicate it in a very indirect way about how she feels uncomfortable with contacting her exes and how she would hope that he wouldn't contact his exes and that there's no reason to still need anything from your exes. And he's saying that, he doesn't want to burn bridges. They both have different expectations around how to handle exes. Both of them are very valid. There's no right or wrong way of how to handle the situation with your ex, as long as your partner is comfortable with whatever it is, and as long as you're being open and honest with your partner about where you stand with your ex or what that relationship is, whether it's a friendship or, you're just acquaintances, or maybe you want to approach your ex because you want a certain job in their department and they can help you out. That's totally fine. And it's okay if you decide that you don't want to contact your ex at all. How are they going to navigate that, especially with Mallory still being very much present in their current lives right now?
I'm just worried that you'll just more so be annoyed at how opposite.
Are you just sitting down and?
Does that bother you?
No, but that's also I'll ask you if you want to come out.
And I'll say no.
Introverts and extroverts can definitely be in a relationship together. It's not a be-all, end-all type of a situation. And it might also depend on their moods or the events that they're going to or the activities. It's not to say that one person is an introvert. They're never going to go out to events or hang out with friends with their partner. And it's not to say that the extrovert always wants to go out. So there's definitely a balance that the couple can definitely strike and make sure that there's a level of comfort and trust between the two of them. It might be a deal breaker for some, and it doesn't necessarily mean that in order to have a good relationship, you need to both be introverts or both be extroverts. And sometimes it could be helpful to have someone who is a little bit different than you because it can help you kind of stretch and grow as a person and maybe try new activities. There's some benefits to that, but I can see how for some couples, it may be a source of conflict. And it's okay if some people have a preference in that they want to find a partner who is extroverted or is introverted like them. That's okay too. So it just really depends on each individual couple and how they choose to navigate their level of energy and how often they want to stay in or go out. And again, things like that can be definitely talked about, discussed, and compromised to make everyone happy and to make the relationship work.
Maybe we focus less on what could go wrong and focus more on, what could go right.
Yes.
I
Good.
like that a lot.
At this point, I
Good.
can't
That's a
wait
good
to
attitude to have. So the Gottman Institute does a lot of research on relationships and couples, and they have a lot of empirical evidence in terms of what makes a couple happy and have a successful relationship, and also what makes a couple break up. They have something called the magic ratio. So basically what that means is that for every negative encounter or interaction you have with your partner, you need to have 5 positive interactions to offset that one negative. For happier couples, they tend to have more positive interactions and they have more of that to offset any of the negative interactions that may arise. Whereas the unhappy couples and couples that tend to break up, they have more negative interactions and less positive interactions to be able to offset that. 5-to-1 ratio is pretty significant if you think about it, right? So even one little fight or one negative interaction, you need to have 5 positive ones to just offset that. So just something to keep in mind, because you definitely need to have a lot more positive interactions in order to have successful relationships, and also just to have enough positive interaction buffers to offset any negative interactions that may arise. And negative interactions, they do happen in couples. It's unavoidable in relationships. Again, how do you overcome them as a couple? And the same could be said about our thoughts about our partners, right? We want to make sure that we are focusing on things that we love about our partners rather than the flaws or things that really bother us about our partners. We do have control over our thoughts and what we notice, and it's not to say that you need to be positive all the time. It's not like a toxic positivity thing. Again, backed up by research, just trying to have more awareness and be more mindful of the things that we want to focus on. If you're enjoying this analysis video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's ever liked any of my videos or who's subscribed to my channel. It's such a huge help to get the support from you. And I honestly wouldn't be continuing this if it weren't for you guys. So thank you for everyone who's subscribed and supported me during this year or so I've been doing this. Oh, wow. Okay, so they met up in Chicago.
Where's your ring?
Oh, so she didn't return it, and she's not even wearing it.
Well, I don't know where we're standing.
It was moving way too fast.
Yeah.
Like, it did freak me out.
I mean, it's fine if she was feeling overwhelmed, if she was feeling like it was moving too fast, but she already explained that to him. She already said that she didn't want to spend the night with him and she was going to stay in a separate room. And then she just up and left without telling him. There's something else going on and she's just not really communicating it with him, or maybe she's not comfortable enough to communicate it with him. But that's definitely not the whole picture. So I think there's definitely more to that. I can understand why he's feeling really confused and he doesn't know where they stand, because I guess they haven't talked since that night. Maybe this is the first time of them getting back together and talking.
I want to stay true to, like, my core and, like, my beliefs.
We can work on that. I'm willing to compromise on so much other shit that I normally wouldn't, because there's so much I love about you.
And we see that he's really trying to do what he can to fight for her or to win her over. Maybe for him, he's grown up with these ideas that in order to have love and have a successful relationship, you need to fight for them, or you need to convince the other person to fall in love with you. And that's not how things normally work. Again, it could be because there's a lack of differentiation, and so for him, he might not realize that what he's giving up is actually truly important to him, and maybe down the road with her, if they decide to get together and get married, he might realize that, oh shoot, those things were really important to me, and there could be a time where he might grow resentful of her, or maybe he wants to leave the relationship because he's not true to himself. It's definitely not the best idea to have to try to change yourself just to make one person fall in love with you. There could be a lot of other people who would love and accept him the way he is and who might have similar values, and that's okay too. But in this dynamic, the more he tries to pursue her and try to convince her that he's the right person for her, the more I can see her pulling away and feeling even more unsure. It's the same dynamic as if you were to run into a salesperson. You know that they're trying to sell you something, and that's exactly what he's trying to do, is that he's trying to sell her this romantic idea of what their relationship and what their future is going to look like. And she's like, well, you know, I still have these big issues and they need to figure that out. But I think he's just really trying to convince her that they can work on it and they can fix it. But you can't really guarantee something like that, especially if it's really important to her.
I can't stop, like, thinking about Shane. I can't explain it. I do have love for Shane. Still, at the end of the day.
And of course, she's dealing with her breakup with Shane, and she still has a lot of feelings towards him, and that also might be interfering with her relationship with Kyle here. I don't remember if they mentioned this in the pods, but let me know in the comments below if you saw this scene. But did Shane and Shayna talk about their religions or their beliefs around religions? Like, are they on the same page? What if they're not, and he's also an atheist, or he believes something else? Then she would have essentially the same situation play out, and that would mean that Shane isn't a viable option to be a partner. I don't know if they talked about that. I really can't remember. It's been a long day of watching Love is Blind for me. And I do apologize if the lighting looks a little bit different. I was almost done this episode and then my battery for my camera died, and then I went to go make dinner and now it's nighttime. Yeah, I've been sitting here watching Love is Blind all day. I mean, I took a couple of breaks. Now everyone has
Something
left
has
the
been on my
resort
mind, like,
and
Was it on, Doc?
and they're living together to see how that may help or hurt their relationship and how that may impact their dynamics.
I mean, if there is something that I need to be concerned about,
This is something
So
that,
he's
like,
clearly still bothered
felt
by
like
that
haven't talked
situation.
about, and we were good.
So clearly Sal is still bothered that they were talking for so long at the party, and yeah, maybe they did discuss it briefly before or in depth and they didn't show it. Maybe she's feeling a little blindsided or a little bit confused as to why he's mentioning it again. Maybe he also had time to process and really understand how he's feeling, and maybe it wasn't jealousy, but it's more insecurity, and he didn't know how to express it until now.
after you spoke to Jarrette, I thought I heard you say that we don't necessarily have to get married. It bothered me. Look,
Why is this happening right now?
So probably not the best reaction to scoff in your partner's face. He's clearly upset and he said he's bothered by it and he's just expressing how he feels. She's getting defensive and she's not really listening to him. Now she's asking him why is he bringing it up now, and he's obviously still bothered by it, and it's okay if he wants to talk about it. Yeah, she definitely could have been a little bit more open and understanding, especially since what we saw in terms of the footage. Again, they could have edited a certain way, but from what we saw, there was clearly some form of vibe or energy between her and Jarrette, so it only makes sense for him to have these feelings of worry and insecurity. And we saw that he was really, really upset. And she said that, oh, by the end of it, we don't even have to get married. So maybe he's also questioning whether or not she's committed to him. And so it makes sense as to why he would have these feelings of doubt.
I understand
Like, we talked
that.
about
I
this-
just didn't understand why that was the first thing that was said when we talked right after you had spoken to Jarrette.
So he's trying to make a connection between the conversation that she had with Jarrette and then the conversation that they had right afterwards. And it seems like the first thing she said is that they don't have to get married. And it's true, they definitely don't have to get married if they don't feel that it's the right decision for them, if they're not all in, if they're not committed, if they're not the right person. It's totally fine. They don't have to get married for the sake of the show. But I think for him, he's wondering why that specific topic came up right after her discussion with Jarrette. And maybe he's also wondering, like, oh, okay, well, if we don't get married, are you going to run off with him if he doesn't also, like, if he's also not married? Like, I can understand his cause for concern. He just wants clarification. And he's not trying to attack her. He's just really wanting some form of reassurance.
I didn't know about the ring. I didn't know that it had actually affected you like that.
I love my ring. I think I got a little bit in my head with that comment. Sometimes I can't tell, like, how much you really care about me.
It takes a lot of time to be able to show the other person that you care about them. I can understand maybe she was also questioning his commitment to her or how much he really loves her if he didn't ask her what kind of ring she wanted, but Jarrette did. And so she's comparing the two of them in her mind, and that's not really fair to do so. I'm glad that she's at least mentioning it to him now as to why that was the reason she was thinking about, by the end of this, we don't have to get married, because now she's thinking like, oh, okay, well, maybe he's not the right person for me because he's not taking into consideration what it is I want, and he's not really caring for me. Plus, the other things that she said to Jarrette about, him putting sports before her and her not being a priority. Again, I don't know if she's actually saying that specifically about Sal or if it's just certain types of guys she's dated in the past who might have certain similar characteristics as him, and she's making those assumptions. And if that's the case, then, it's not really fair because he hasn't really given her a reason to doubt him. But she might be looking at the ring as a reason to doubt him.
Look, I know you love your ring, and I could have asked more details, and that's my fault. At the end of the day, I chose this ring, and I wanted to give it to you.
And I love it.
It seems like he's able to reflect and think about what he could have done differently. And he said, you know, I could have asked more questions in terms of what you wanted in a ring and what your preferences were. And she was also able to reassure him that she loves the ring. She thinks it's beautiful. So it's going in a better direction now.
Even with your fiance there, you're still saying this shit about someone else.
Yeah.
You already have another fiance. Like, why are you doing this?
He makes a good point about, you know, why did Jarrette bring up the fact that, you know, this wasn't the ring that she wanted, and he asked her what kind of ring she wanted. What do you think about Jarrette's comment about the ring? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you'll get more analysis videos of Love is Blind. Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to check out my other therapist reviews videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, be kind and love yourself.